The transport ship, Peaceful Dawn, moved slowly through the dark space near the Andromeda Gateway. Inside the small vessel, 23 human families sat in their seats, looking out at the stars. They were heading to New Sol Colony on planet Kepler 442b to start new lives. 8-year-old Hyunwoo Kim pressed his face against the window. His breath made small clouds on the cold glass as he watched the distant stars. His father Dae-hyun sat next to him, checking engineering reports on his tablet. His mother, So-young, was across the aisle, reading about the new plants she would study on their new home world. "Papa, how much longer until we get there?" Hyunwoo asked. Dae-hyun smiled and ruffled his son's black hair. "Just 2 more days, little one. Then you can run around on real ground instead of metal floors." So-young looked up from her research. "And I can show you the amazing flowers that grow there. They change colors with the seasons." Hyunwoo's eyes went wide. "Really? Can I help you study them?" "Of course," his mother said. "Every good scientist needs a helper." The boy turned back to the window, dreaming about colored flowers and open skies. He had lived his whole life on space stations and ships. The idea of a real planet seemed like magic. Captain Yoon-ho was in the control room checking their route when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. His hands flew over the controls as he tried to understand what was happening. "What is that?" his co-pilot whispered. Through the front window, something huge was moving toward them. It was not like any ship they had ever seen. It looked alive. The thing was dark green and brown, with what looked like skin instead of metal. It had bumps and ridges like a giant creature from the deep ocean. Smaller parts stuck out from its sides, moving like arms or tentacles. The bioship was massive. The Peaceful Dawn could fit inside it 100 times. As it came closer, they could see it breathing. The hull went up and down like lungs. Strange lights pulsed under its skin like a heartbeat. "Send a distress signal now," Captain Yoon-ho ordered. His voice was shaking. But before they could send any message, everything went quiet. The ship's engines stopped. The lights went dim. Even the air system became silent. "We are caught in some kind of field," the co-pilot said. "I cannot move the ship." Through the speakers came a sound like deep growling mixed with clicks and whistles. Then a voice spoke in broken human language. "Small flesh creatures, you will come to us. Do not resist." In the passenger area, families held each other tight. Children were crying. Some adults were praying. Hyunwoo reached for his father's hand. "What's happening, Papa?" Dae-hyun pulled his son close. "I don't know, but stay with Mama and me. No matter what happens, stay close." The bioship opened like a mouth. Inside was a tunnel of wet, pink walls that pulsed with light. The Peaceful Dawn was pulled inside like food being swallowed. When their ship stopped moving, they heard heavy footsteps on the hull. Something was cutting through their door. The metal glowed red-hot and then white. Finally, it melted away completely. The creatures that came through were like nothing from human nightmares. They stood 12 feet tall on 4 thick legs. Their bodies were covered in hard, shiny plates like armor made of bone. They had 6 arms each, all ending in clawed hands. Their heads were long and narrow with 4 eyes that glowed yellow in the dim light. The leader was bigger than the rest. Scars covered his armor plates. He looked at the humans like a farmer looking at cattle. "I am Commander Vorthak of the Veltrax Empire," he said in that same broken human speech. "You are now property of the Empire." The humans were pushed out of their ship at spear point. The inside of the bioship was warm and wet. The walls moved slightly, like they were inside a living stomach. Strange smells filled the air, some sweet, some rotten. Commander Vorthak walked among the prisoners, studying them. Most humans looked at the floor, too scared to meet his glowing eyes. But little Hyunwoo stared right back at him with curious, brave eyes. "This small one is different," Vorthak said to his second-in-command, Look how it watches us. Just a larva, Commander. All young creatures are curious. Vorthak knelt down to Hyunwoo's level. Even kneeling, he was still taller than the boy. What is your designation? Small flesh creature? My name is Hyunwoo Kim, the boy said clearly. His parents tried to pull him back, but he did not move. Hyunwoo, Vorthak repeated, making the name sound like a growl. You will come with us for study. We must understand how human larvae develop. No! So Young cried out. She tried to run to her son, but Veltrak's guards blocked her path. Please! He's just a child. Take me instead. Daehyun struggled against the guards holding him. Let him go! He's done nothing wrong! But Commander Vorthak was not interested in their pleas. In his long life, he had conquered 17 different species. Humans seemed no different from the others, weak, emotional, and easy to control. Separate the larva from the breeding pair, he ordered. Put it in study chamber 7. The others go to the holding cells. 2 guards picked up Hyunwoo like he weighed nothing. The boy did not cry or scream. He looked back at his parents and said, I'll be okay, Mama. I'll be okay, Papa. As they carried him away, Hyunwoo looked around at everything. He noticed which way they turned, how many doors they passed, what sounds the bioship made. His parents had taught him to always pay attention to details. Even scared and alone, he was learning. The study chamber was a round room with walls that glowed soft blue. There was a bed, a table, and what looked like monitoring equipment. Everything was too big for him, made for creatures much larger than humans. Science Prime Kethra entered the chamber. She was smaller than the warriors, but no less frightening. Her 4 eyes studied Hyunwoo like he was an interesting bug. Do not be afraid, human larva, she said. We only wish to understand your species. The tests will not harm you much. Hyunwoo sat on the edge of the huge bed, his legs dangling. My name is Hyunwoo, not larva. Kethra made a sound like laughing. Such a small thing with such a big voice. We shall see how long that lasts. As the first day ended, Hyunwoo lay in the darkness of the study chamber. He was scared and missed his parents terribly. But he was also thinking. The Veltraks thought humans were weak because they were small. They thought children were helpless because they were young. They were very, very wrong. Far away on New Seoul Colony, Administrator Jin-Ho Park received the emergency signal from the Peaceful Dawn. His face went pale as he read the message. Veltrak's bioship had taken human civilians, including families with children. He immediately sent word to Earth and every human colony. The message was simple, but would change everything. The Veltrax Empire has taken our children. In the depths of space, Commander Vorthak settled into his command chamber, pleased with the day's work. He had new subjects to study and new slaves to work. The humans seemed like they would be easy to break, just like all the others. He had no idea that taking one human child had just signed his species' death warrant. The message from Administrator Jin-Ho Park spread through human space like wildfire. Within 6 hours, every human colony, station, and ship had received the news. The Veltrax Empire had taken human civilians. Among them was an 8-year-old boy named Hyunwoo Kim. On the mining station Gamma 7, Captain Yoonji Choi was loading cargo containers when her communication device buzzed. She read the message once, then again. Her hands began to shake. "Boss, you okay?" asked her crew chief Tae-won. Yoonji stared at the message. She thought about her own daughter back on Earth, safe in school. She thought about some alien monster taking that little girl away from her. "Change of plans," she said, her voice hard as steel. "We're not going to Proxima Station. But boss, we got a contract. They're expecting this cargo." Yoonji was already walking toward her ship's communication array. "Send a message to Proxima. Tell them their cargo is delayed. We have more important business." Tae-won followed her, confused. "What business?" "We're going hunting. 3 systems. Away, engineer Taemin Yoon was fixing the engines on a freight hauler. He was deep in the engine room, covered in grease and sweat, when his partner called down to him. "Taemin, you need to see this message." Taemin climbed up from the engine pit, wiping his hands on a dirty rag. He read the message on the screen. His face went white, then red with anger. "Those monsters," he whispered. "They took a child." "Yeah, it's terrible. But what can we do? We're just mechanics." Taemin looked at his partner like he had grown a second head. "What can we do? We can fix ships, fast ships, ships that can fight." He grabbed his tools and started walking toward the door. "Where? Are you going?" "To make some calls. I know people. People with ships that need fixing. People who won't stand for this." On the research station Far Horizon, Dr. Minho Lee was studying alien psychology when the message arrived. He had spent years learning how different species thought and acted. He knew the Veltrax better than most humans. He pulled up every file he had on the Veltrax Empire. He read about their conquests, their tactics, their weaknesses. Most importantly, he read about their minds. "They think like apex predators," he said to himself. "They see other species as prey. They cannot understand that prey can become dangerous." He started typing a report. Other humans would need this information. They would need to understand their enemy. But even as he wrote, he felt something strange happening. Messages were coming in from everywhere. Ship captains changing course, traders abandoning their routes, soldiers going absent without leave. Even civilians were finding ways to travel toward Veltrax space. This was not how other species responded to losses. When the Veltrax took prisoners from other races, those races would file protests with the Galactic Council. They would negotiate. They would accept the loss as the price of being weak. Humans were doing something different, something the galaxy had never seen before. On the cargo ship Blue Morning, Captain Dong-sik received 3 messages in 1 hour. All were from other ship captains. All were asking the same question. "Are you going to help get the boy back?" Dong-sik had never met little Hyunwoo Kim. He had never even been to New Seoul Colony. But when he closed his eyes, he saw his nephew playing in the park back home. He saw the trust in those young eyes. "Chart a course for the Veltrax border," he told his navigator. "Sir, we don't have any cargo going that way, and the company won't pay us for an empty run. Then we quit the company. Some things are more important than money." In the military academy on Mars, Cadet Soo-jin was in tactical class when the news broke. Her instructor, Major Park, tried to continue the lesson, but every student was reading the message on their personal devices. "Pay attention, cadets. This does not concern you yet." Soo-jin stood up. "Sir, with respect, this concerns all of us." "Cadet, sit down. This is a matter for diplomats and high command." "No, sir," Soo-jin said, quietly. "This is a matter for humans." She walked out of the classroom. Within an hour, half the academy had followed her. The response was not organized. There was no central command giving orders, no government agency coordinating the effort. It was something deeper and older than military organization. On Earth, news reporter Yang Soo was trying to understand what was happening. Ship manifests showed thousands of vessels changing course. Cargo was being abandoned. Contracts were being broken. The human economy was starting to shake as people dropped everything to converge on one point in space. "It makes no sense," he told his producer. "They're acting like the child belongs to all of them." His producer, an older woman named In Young, nodded slowly. "Maybe he does." "What do you mean?" "I have grandchildren," In Young said. "If someone took one of them, I would want every human in the galaxy to come help. And I would help if someone took their children." Yang Su still looked confused. "It's about the species," In Young explained. "That boy represents our future, our hope. When you threaten one of our children, you threaten all of us." On the merchant vessel Starbound, Captain Kyung-ho was explaining to his crew why they were heading to Veltrax space instead of delivering their cargo. "The company will fire us," his first officer warned. "Let them. There are more important things than jobs. Our families depend on this income." Kyung-ho turned to face his crew. "What kind of galaxy do we want our families to live in? One where children can be stolen and nobody cares? Or one where every human stands up when our young are threatened?" The crew was quiet for a moment. Then his engineer spoke up. "How fast can this old ship go, Captain?" "Fast enough." By the end of the second day, the Galactic Council was in emergency session. Ambassador Veltar from the Centauri Federation stood before the assembly. "The humans are mobilizing for war," he announced. "Thousands of their ships are moving toward Veltrax territory. This could destabilize the entire sector." The Alteran representative disagreed. "They have no military formation, no supply lines, no battle plan. This is just emotional reaction." But the Rigelian delegate, who had studied humans for decades, looked worried. "You don't understand. This is not their military responding. This is their species responding. Every human ship, every human with access to space travel is converging on one point. For one child. No, for the idea of their children. The Veltrax have awakened something in them that we have never seen before." In his luxurious office, Galactic, Council President Zorkan was reading reports from across human space. Factory workers were quitting their jobs to serve on rescue ships. Scientists were abandoning research projects. Even diplomats were ignoring orders and heading toward the crisis zone. "How many ships?" he asked his aide. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors show new vessels entering the area every hour. The number keeps growing." President Zorkan had lived through many crises. He had seen species go to war over territory, resources, and pride. But this was different. The humans were not acting like a government making calculated decisions. They were acting like a pack protecting their young. "Send a message to the Veltrax Empire," he ordered. "Warn them that they may have made a serious mistake." But deep in Veltrax space, Commander Vorthak was not worried about human ships. He had conquered species with much larger fleets. Humans were small and weak. Their ships were mostly civilian vessels with light weapons. What he did not understand was that the humans were not coming to fight a traditional war. They were coming to rescue one of their own, and that made them infinitely more dangerous than any organized military force. The network had awakened. Across the galaxy, humans were dropping everything they considered important to focus on one thing: bringing Hyun-woo Kim home. The hunt was about to begin. Inside the Veltrax bioship, Hyun-woo had been awake for 3 days. The study chamber was always warm and damp, like being inside a mouth. Strange lights pulsed in the walls, and he could hear the ship's heartbeat echoing through the corridors. Science Prime. Kethra visited him every few hours. She brought different tools each time: scanners that hummed, needles that took tiny drops of blood, machines that measured how his body worked. She thought she was learning about humans, but Hyun-woo was learning about the Veltrax. "Your species is very fragile," Kethra said, checking readings on her scanner. "Your bones are weak. Your skin tears easily. How did you survive long enough to reach space?" Hyun-woo sat still while she worked. "We're good at figuring things out. Intelligence is useful. But strength matters more in the galaxy. The Veltrax rule because we are strong. My mama says the smartest animals aren't always the biggest ones." Kethra made that laughing sound again. "Your mother is wrong, little human. Size and power determine survival." But Hyun-woo was not just talking. He was watching. He noticed that Kethra always touched the same wall panel when she entered. He saw how the bioship responded to the Veltrax touch. Walls would open, lights would change, systems would activate. The ship was not just alive. It was connected to its crew through their nervous systems. When the guards brought him food, he watched them too. They moved in patterns, checking the same places at the same times. They talked to each other through clicking sounds, but when they were relaxed, they also used their bio-neural connection to the ship. Hyunwoo's father had taught him about engineering. His mother had shown him how living systems worked. Now he was seeing both together in one place. On the fourth day, something interesting happened. When Kethra was running her tests, one of her machines stopped working. She touched the wall panel several times, but nothing happened. Strange, she muttered. The bio-neural connection should be working. Hyunwoo had been experimenting. While the Veltrax thought he was just a scared child sitting quietly, he had been touching different parts of the walls. The bioship systems were designed for Veltrax nervous systems, but human nerves work too, just differently. He had figured out how to make small changes to the room's systems. Nothing big enough to get noticed, but enough to cause tiny problems. Maybe. It's just tired, Hyunwoo suggested innocently. Bioships do not get tired, child. They are bred for endurance. But Kethra looked worried as she left the chamber. Meanwhile, in the command center, Commander Vorthak was receiving reports that confused him. Long-range sensors were detecting human ships at the edge of Veltrax space. Not many, just dozens, compared to the thousands of ships in the Veltrax fleet. They are probably coming to negotiate, his tactical officer suggested. Most species send diplomats when we take their people. How many ships? 47 at last count, Commander. All small vessels, mostly cargo ships and civilian transports. Vorthak dismissed the report. 47 ships were nothing against the Veltrax Empire. Even if they were military vessels, which they clearly were not, they posed no threat. What he did not know was that human deep space monitoring stations had been tracking his bioship since the day they took Hyunwoo. The living hull of Veltrax vessels produced unique bioelectrical signatures. Human scientists, originally studying cosmic radiation, had discovered they could follow these signatures across vast distances. Captain Yoonji Choi sat in her ship's command chair, studying sensor readings. Her vessel, the Iron Wind, was one of many human ships now scattered throughout the outer regions of Veltrax territory. There, she said, pointing to a spot on the display. That's the signature from the ship that took the boy. Her navigator, a young man named Woo Jin, looked at the data. It's moving deeper into their space, toward their main base. Then that's where we're going. Captain, we can't fight a bioship that size. We don't have the weapons. Yoonji smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Who said anything about fighting? Across Veltrax space, other human captains were having similar conversations. They were not planning a battle. They were planning something the Veltrax had never encountered before. Back on the bioship, Hyunwoo was making more progress than anyone realized. During his 5th day of captivity, he managed to cause a power fluctuation that affected 3 different chambers. When the Veltrax ran diagnostics, they found nothing wrong with their systems. The bioship seems to be developing some kind of illness, Kethra reported to Commander Vorthak. Small problems throughout the vessel. Nothing serious, but unusual. Perhaps. It needs rest. We can dock at Station Prime tomorrow. Yes, Commander. Also, the human larva continues to show remarkable adaptation. It learns our routines very quickly. Vorthak was not concerned. All young creatures adapt. That is how they survive. But that night, Hyunwoo lay in his chamber and smiled for the first time since his capture. He had figured out something important. The Veltrax bioships were incredibly advanced, but they had a weakness. They were designed to work with Veltrax minds, which thought in very specific patterns. Human minds worked differently. They were more flexible, more creative, and Hyunwoo was discovering that he could make the ship's systems do things the Veltrax never intended. It was like learning to play a very complicated musical instrument. Each touch on the bio-neural interfaces created different responses. Some combinations made lights flicker. Others affected temperature or airflow. A few even seemed to influence the ship's navigation systems. Hyunwoo was 8 years old, scared, and far from home. But he was also his parents' son. His father had taught him that every system had weaknesses if you understood how it worked. His mother had shown him that living things could be influenced if you knew their biology. The Veltrax bioship was both a system and a living thing. By the 6th day, Kethra was becoming genuinely worried. The bioship's problems were getting worse. Systems would work perfectly, then suddenly fail for no reason. The ship's bio-neural network seemed to be developing strange feedback loops. Could the human larva be causing this? She asked her assistant. Impossible. It has no access to ship systems. And even if it did, human nervous systems are not compatible with our biotechnology. But Kethra was beginning to suspect that human nervous systems might be more compatible than they had assumed. She decided to run more tests on their prisoner. When she entered the study chamber, she found Hyun-woo sitting calmly on his bed, looking at her with those strange, intelligent human eyes. "Hello, Kethra," he said. "Are you having problems with your ship?" The way he said it sent a chill through her 4 hearts. There was something in his voice, not fear or confusion, but confidence, like he knew exactly what was happening. "How did you know we were having problems?" "I can feel it," Hyun-woo said simply. "The ship is sad. It doesn't like what you're doing to me." Kethra stared at him. That was impossible. Bioships did not have emotions like sadness. They were bred to be weapons and tools. But as she looked at the small human child, she began to wonder if there were things about humans that the Veltrax did not understand. Outside in the darkness of space, more human ships were arriving every hour. They moved like ghosts, appearing on sensors for moments before vanishing again. They did not attack. They did not communicate. They just watched and waited. Commander Vorthak was beginning to feel something he had never experienced before. It was not fear. Apex predators did not feel fear of prey species, but it was uncertainty, and that was almost as troubling. The humans were not behaving like any species the Veltrax had conquered before. They should have sent diplomats by now. They should have offered trade agreements or tribute in exchange for their people. Instead, they were just there, silent and patient, like predators surrounding wounded prey. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Vorthak wondered if he had made a mistake. On the 7th day, Captain Yoon-ji Choi decided it was time to make direct contact with the Veltrax military forces. Her ship Iron Wind appeared on their long-range sensors for exactly 12 minutes, long enough to scan every detail of their patrol routes, then disappeared back into the asteroid belt before they could respond. Sub-Commander Gorthek was leading the patrol when the human ship appeared. He immediately sent an urgent message to his commander. "Human vessel detected in Sector 7, sir. Small cargo transport with minimal weapons. It fled when we moved to intercept." Commander Vorthak studied the report with growing annoyance. 1. Small ship was no threat, but he did not like having humans operating so deep inside Veltrax territory. "Did the vessel try to communicate with us?" "No, sir. It observed our formation for several minutes, then departed at maximum speed. Standard prey behavior. They are gathering information for their diplomatic teams." But Gorthek looked troubled by something. "Commander, the ship moved with military precision. It mapped our entire patrol pattern in under 10 minutes. That suggests professional training." Vorthak waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Even trained humans are still weak creatures. Continue normal operations." What Commander Vorthak did not know was that Captain Choi represented just one small part of a massive intelligence operation. Throughout Veltrax space, dozens of human ships were conducting similar missions. Each encounter gathered vital information about defensive positions, patrol schedules, supply routes, and communication protocols. Sang-woo Pak was coordinating the intelligence effort from his converted cargo ship Deep Current. He had spent 15 years as a military analyst before becoming a civilian contractor. Now he was using every skill he had learned to map weaknesses in the Veltrax Empire. "Their patrols follow the same routes every day," he reported to the growing network of human captains. No variation at all, no unpredictable movements for security. Captain Dong-sik listened from his merchant vessel, Blue Morning. Why would they worry about security? They think they are the strongest species in the galaxy. Exactly right, Sang-woo replied. They have never needed to defend against attacks because no prey species has ever dared to fight them. They do not know how to respond to organized resistance. This crucial information spread rapidly through the human communication network. Ship captains shared data freely, building a complete picture of Veltrax's operations. It was not an official military operation, but it was more thorough than most government intelligence agencies. Meanwhile, aboard the Veltrax bioship, Hyun-woo was making amazing progress with the vessel's living systems. By his 8th day in captivity, he could control environmental settings, access communication networks, and even influence some navigation functions. He was very careful to keep his activities small and random-looking. When air circulation changed in one section, it seemed like a minor malfunction. When communication channels experienced brief static, the crew assumed it was natural interference. Science Prime Kethra was becoming frustrated with the constant technical problems. She had ordered complete system diagnostics 6 times, but her teams found nothing wrong with the bio-neural networks. Perhaps we should move the human subject to a different ship, she suggested to Commander Vorthak. These system failures started after we brought it aboard. Are you suggesting that a child is somehow damaging our bioship? When she heard it stated so directly, it did sound impossible. No, sir. But human neural patterns might be causing interference we do not understand. Then keep it sedated. Maintain unconsciousness until we reach our research station. But when Kethra tried to administer sedatives, she discovered another problem. Hyun-woo's body processed the drugs much faster than their medical databases predicted. Doses that should have kept him unconscious for hours only made him sleepy for minutes. Human biology is more adaptable than we realized, she reported with concern. The subject is developing resistance to our medications. This was only partially true. Hyun-woo had been studying every test and procedure they performed on him. His mother had taught him how different species adapted to foreign chemicals. He was using that knowledge to prepare his body's defenses. More importantly, he was learning to use the bioship's medical systems to counteract their drugs. The vessel was designed to keep its crew healthy, and Hyun-woo had convinced it to treat him as crew. On the 9th day, Dr. Min-ho Lee's psychological analysis reached the human fleet. His report was both enlightening and disturbing. The Veltrax. Think like pure apex predators, he explained in his recorded message. They cannot imagine prey species becoming dangerous. Their entire civilization assumes that physical strength determines everything. Captain Kyung-ho listened from his merchant. Ship starbound. The information was useful but also made him angry. So they think they can steal our children because they are bigger than us? Essentially, yes. They see other species the way we might see farm animals. The idea that farm animals could organize and fight back is unthinkable to them. This psychological insight spread through the human network like fire. It explained why the Veltrax were not taking the human presence seriously. They could not conceive of prey threatening predators. But the analysis also revealed a critical weakness. The Veltrax were mentally unprepared for organized resistance from supposedly inferior species. They had no procedures for dealing with prey that fought back intelligently. Captain Choi was studying this report when her communications officer made an important discovery. Captain, we are detecting coded signals from deep inside Veltrax space. The patterns suggest they are coming from the bioship holding our target. What kind of codes? Not exactly codes, ma'am. More like patterns hidden in normal ship communications, as if someone aboard is manipulating their systems to send us messages. Choi stared at the display in amazement. You are telling me an 8-year-old is hacking an alien bioship? The patterns are too complex to be accidental. Someone on that vessel is definitely trying to communicate with us. The implications were staggering. If Hyun Woo had access to Veltrax systems, he might provide intelligence about their defenses. More importantly, he might help coordinate his own rescue. Within hours, human technicians throughout the fleet were analyzing the signal patterns. What they found was both amazing and frightening. The boy was not just sending information. He was learning to control parts of the bioship itself. Tai Min-yoon, a former engineer now serving on a rescue vessel, recognized the technical signatures immediately. He is treating their bioship like a very complex biological computer, Taimin explained to his captain. But instead of using a keyboard, he is connecting directly to their neural networks. The child is thinking his way into their control systems. How is that possible? His parents are an engineer and a xenobiologist. He has been around complex systems and alien life his entire life. To him, this is probably just a very challenging puzzle. But the most disturbing part of the analysis was what it revealed about human potential. If one 8-year-old could master Veltrax biotechnology in just over a week, what could trained adults accomplish? By the 10th day, over 300 human ships had positioned themselves throughout Veltrax space. They were no longer hiding. They wanted the Veltrax to see them and wonder what they were planning. Commander Vorthak was indeed wondering. Intelligence reports showed human vessels scattered across his territory, but they were not behaving like any invasion force he knew. "They are not attacking our bases," his tactical officer reported with confusion. "They are not disrupting our trade routes. They are just there, watching. What are they waiting for?" "Unknown, sir." Their behavior makes no tactical sense. But Gorthek, who had encountered the human reconnaissance mission, had developed a different theory. "Perhaps they are not waiting, Commander. Perhaps they are positioning themselves. For what? They do not have enough ships to threaten our defenses." "No, sir. But they have enough ships to reach any location in our territory very quickly. If they want to rescue their people, they would not need to fight our entire fleet. They would only need to reach one specific target." For the first time since the capture, Commander Vorthak felt genuine concern. His ship carried valuable research, subjects, including the human child his science teams were studying. If the humans were planning a rescue operation, increase security around all prisoners, he ordered. Plot a course deeper into Empire space. I want maximum distance between us and these human ships. But when his crew tried to change course, something strange happened. Navigation systems began failing intermittently. Course corrections would work briefly, then mysteriously reverse themselves. In his study chamber, Hyun-woo smiled as he sensed the ship's confusion through its neural networks. He was growing stronger every day, learning more sophisticated ways to influence the massive vessel's systems. The bioship was starting to like him more than its own crew. It wanted to protect him, even from the Veltrax who thought they controlled it. Soon, Hyun-woo would be ready to guide his rescuers to him. The human fleet was getting closer every hour, and the Veltrax still did not understand what they were facing. The reckoning was approaching fast, and when it arrived, the galaxy would never be the same. On the 11th day, something changed in Veltrax space. Human ships stopped hiding. They appeared everywhere at once like ghosts becoming solid, near military bases, around trading stations, along every major shipping route that connected the Veltrax Empire together. Commander Vorthak stared at his tactical display in complete disbelief. Red dots representing human vessels covered his entire sector map like a rash. "How many ships are we tracking now?" he asked his tactical officer. "Over 2,000 confirmed contacts, Commander. New ones keep appearing every hour." "Sub-Commander." Gorthek studied the positioning patterns carefully. Something about the distribution troubled him deeply. "Sir, they are not positioned for a standard attack formation. This is something else entirely." "What do you mean by something else?" "Look at how they are spread out. Every major travel route through our space has human ships watching it. Every important facility has vessels nearby monitoring activity. They are not preparing to fight us, Commander. They are preparing to be everywhere we are, all at the same time." The psychological effect on Veltrax's crews was immediate and devastating. Reports flooded in from across the Empire. Human ships would appear without warning near Veltrax installations, observe silently for hours, then vanish back into space before anyone could respond. No attacks came. No threats were broadcast. Just the constant presence of watching eyes belonging to creatures that should have been helpless prey. For a species that had ruled the galaxy through pure intimidation for 6 centuries, being watched by their supposed prey was deeply disturbing. But the real terror was only beginning. Science Prime. Kethra entered Hyun-Woo's study chamber on the 12th day to find something that made all 4 of her hearts skip several beats. The human child was sitting calmly in the center of the room, but the bioship itself was responding to his presence in ways that should have been impossible. Soft lights pulsed in the walls, matching the rhythm of his breathing perfectly. The room's temperature had adjusted automatically to his comfort level. Most disturbing of all, sections of the living wall had actually grown small depressions that were perfectly shaped for human hands. "What have you done to our ship?" Kethra whispered, in horror. Hyun-Woo looked up at her with those calm, intelligent human eyes that never seemed afraid anymore. "I made friends with her." "That is completely impossible. Bioships do not form emotional attachments to alien species. They are bred to be loyal only to Veltrax's crews. This one is different now." Hyun-Woo placed his small hand into one of the wall depressions. Immediately, the ship's bioneural network responded with what could only be described as pure contentment. Kethra checked her monitoring instruments frantically. The readings showed massive changes in the ship's neural patterns. The bioship was not just tolerating the human child anymore, it was actively protecting him and treating him like a beloved crew member. "Commander Vorthak must see this immediately," she said, backing quickly toward the chamber door. But when she tried to leave, the door refused to open. The bioship had sealed the chamber from the inside, trapping her with the human child. "Please do not be afraid of me," Hyun-Woo said gently. "I will not hurt you or anyone else. But I need you to understand something very important." "What do you want me to understand?" "Your people made a terrible mistake when you took me away from my family. They are coming to get me back. All of them are coming." Kethra's voice shook with growing fear. "Your breeding pair parents, they are locked safely in our holding cells. Not just my mother and father, all of my human family, every single human in the galaxy who knows what happened to me." Through the ship's bioneural network, Hyun-Woo was sensing things that the Veltrax could not detect or understand. He could feel the presence of thousands of human vessels spread throughout Veltrax space. He sensed their determination, their controlled anger, and their fierce love for him, even though most of them had never met him before. "There are thousands of ships out there in the darkness," he continued calmly. "And they are all here because you took me away from my family. They dropped everything they were doing and came to get me back." The door finally opened with a soft hiss, and Kethra ran from the chamber as fast as her 4 legs could carry her. Meanwhile, Captain Choi was preparing for the next phase of the human response plan. Her ship Iron Wind, along with 50 other vessels, had positioned themselves in a perfect circle around a major Veltrax supply station. "Remember your orders," she broadcast to all the other captains on secured channels. "We are not here to destroy their property. We are here to send them a message they will never forget." The human ships moved with perfect coordination, surrounding the station completely, but never moving close enough to be considered an attack. Instead, they began broadcasting the same message on every Veltrax communication frequency. The message was simple, clear, and absolutely terrifying. "We know where everything important is located. We can reach everything you value. Return our child to us now." Similar scenes were playing out simultaneously across the entire Veltrax empire. Human vessels appeared around dozens of military installations, trading centers, and government facilities. Each group delivered the exact same message, demonstrating capabilities that should have been impossible for such a supposedly small and disorganized civilian fleet. Sub-Commander Gorthek was the first Veltrax officer to truly understand what was happening around them. "Commander Vorthak," he reported urgently, "the humans are not trying to fight us in traditional combat. They are trying to demonstrate that fighting them would be completely pointless." "Explain your reasoning." "They have positioned ships near every piece of critical infrastructure in our empire. Our entire civilization is being watched simultaneously. If they wanted to attack us, they could strike hundreds of locations at exactly the same moment." Commander Vorthak felt something he had never experienced in his long military career, the cold, creeping grip of genuine fear. "But they are just cargo ships and civilian transport vessels. They cannot possibly have military-grade weapons systems." "They do not need powerful weapons, sir. They just need to be in the right places at the right times with the right coordination. And they have already proven they can be anywhere they want to be." The demonstration continued for 3 full days. Human ships would appear near Veltrax facilities, deliver their message about returning the child, then vanish before any response forces could reach them. It was like being haunted by intelligent ghosts that could strike anywhere in the galaxy, at will. But the worst revelation was still to come. On the 15th day, Hyun-woo made his most significant breakthrough in controlling the bioship systems. He had finally learned to access the vessel's long-range communication networks. More importantly, he had figured out how to use those same systems to contact the human rescue fleet directly. His message was brief, but devastatingly effective. "I am ready to come home to my family now." Captain Choi received the transmission, aboard her command ship, and immediately shared it with every human vessel in the area. "All ships, this is Rescue Leader calling," she broadcast on all frequencies. "Our boy is reaching out to us. He is ready to come home. Time to go and bring him back to his family." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Human ships throughout Veltrax space began converging on Commander Vorthak's bioship location. They moved with purpose and coordination that terrified every Veltrax observer who witnessed it. Commander Vorthak watched his tactical display as hundreds of red dots representing human vessels moved steadily toward his position. They were still several hours away, but they were approaching with the inevitable determination of a natural force. "We should retreat immediately," Sub-Commander Gorthek advised urgently. "Take the bioship deeper into our core systems where the humans cannot follow us." But when Vorthak tried to order the necessary course changes, his navigation officer reported an unexpected problem. "Sir, the bioship is not responding properly to navigation commands. The neural networks seem to be experiencing some kind of confusion." In his study chamber, Hyun-woo was gently influencing the ship's desire to move through space. Every time the Veltrax crew tried to change course, he convinced the bioship's living systems that it would be much happier staying exactly where it was. "The ship wants to wait here for my family," he told Kethra during her next terrified visit, "to check on him. She knows they are coming to take me home." Kethra stared at the readings on her scientific instruments with growing horror. The bioship's neural patterns clearly showed something that should have been impossible: genuine emotional attachment to the human child. The living vessel actually wanted to protect him, even if that meant disobeying its own Veltrax crew. "This cannot be happening," she whispered to herself. "Your ships are alive," Hyun-woo explained patiently, as if teaching a lesson to a confused student. "All living things can change their minds about who their real friends are." Commander Vorthak was rapidly running out of viable options. The human fleet was approaching steadily. His bioship would not obey direct orders, and his engineering crews were reporting mysterious system failures throughout the vessel. Most terrifying of all, he was beginning to understand that the humans had planned this entire scenario from the very beginning. They had not come to fight a traditional war against the Veltrax Empire. They had come to demonstrate that the mighty Veltrax, despite all their superior technology and military power, could not protect themselves from a species that simply refused to accept the role of helpless prey. "Open a direct communication channel to the human fleet," he ordered with resignation. "Sir, are you certain? Do it immediately before it becomes too late for all of us." The communication channel opened, and Commander Vorthak found himself staring at Captain Choi on his main display screen. Her eyes were hard as tempered steel, and her voice carried the unmistakable promise of total destruction. "Veltrax Commander," she said with deadly calm, "you have something that belongs to us. I am willing to negotiate terms for the return of your people." Captain Choi's smile was as cold as the empty space between stars. "There is absolutely nothing to negotiate. You will return our child to us unharmed immediately, or you will discover exactly why apex predators learn to avoid parents who are protecting their young." Behind her on the screen, Commander Vorthak could see dozens of other human faces. Every single one of them wore the exact same expression of absolute, unwavering determination. For the first time in the long history of the Veltrax Empire, an apex predator was about to beg for mercy from its supposed prey. The moment of truth had arrived. Commander Vorthak stood in his command center, surrounded by hundreds of human ships that had appeared like ghosts from the darkness of space. They did not attack, but their presence was more terrifying than any weapon. On his communication screen, Captain Choi waited for his response. Behind her, he could see the faces of dozens of other human captains. Each face showed the same expression, calm determination mixed with barely controlled rage. "You have made your point," Commander Vorthak said carefully. "Your species is more capable than we assumed." "We have not made any point yet," Captain Choi replied. "We have only shown you how easy it would be to make one." Sub-Commander Gorthek leaned close to Vorthak's ear. "Sir, our sensor readings show more human vessels arriving every minute. At current rate, they will outnumber our entire sector fleet within hours." Commander Vorthak felt the weight of a decision that no Veltrax commander had ever faced. For 600 years, the Veltrax Empire had ruled through strength and intimidation. They had never negotiated with prey species because prey species had never been strong enough to demand negotiations. But these humans were different. They had appeared throughout Veltrax space without being detected. They had demonstrated the ability to strike anywhere at will. Most disturbing of all, they had somehow turned his own bioship against him. "What do you want?" he asked. "Our child. Unharmed. Now. And if we comply?" Captain Choi's expression did not soften. "Then you get to keep breathing." In the study chamber, Hyunwoo felt the tension throughout the bioship's neural networks. The massive vessel was caught between its programmed loyalty to the Veltrax and its growing attachment to the human child who had befriended it. Science Prime Kethra entered the chamber one final time. Her 4 eyes showed fear, confusion, and something that might have been respect. "Your people have come for you," she said. "I know. I can feel them through the ship's networks. They are very angry. Are they going to destroy us?" Hyunwoo considered this carefully. "That depends on you. My family protects me, but they are also good people. If you give me back to them safely, they will let you go. And if we refuse?" The 8-year-old boy looked at her with eyes far older than his years. "Then you will learn why it is a very bad idea to steal human children." Through the bioship's communication systems, Hyunwoo could sense the vast network of human vessels surrounding them. Each ship carried people who had dropped everything in their lives to come rescue him. They had abandoned jobs, broken contracts, left families behind, all because one human child needed help. "Kethra," he said gently, "you should tell your commander to let me go now, before my family loses patience. Meanwhile, Dr. Min-Ho Lee was broadcasting his final psychological analysis to the human fleet, and deliberately to Veltrax's communication networks as well. The Veltrax Empire has ruled through fear for 6 centuries, he explained. They have conquered 17 species by convincing them that resistance is hopeless, but they have never encountered a species that grows stronger when threatened. His voice carried across Veltrax space, reaching every station and ship in the Empire. Humans have a unique trait among galactic species. We do not abandon our young. We do not negotiate their lives away. We do not accept their loss as inevitable. When you threaten our children, every human becomes a potential warrior. The broadcast continued, and Veltrax commanders threw out. The Empire began to understand the magnitude of their mistake. The humans surrounding you now represent something unprecedented in galactic history. They are not a military force following orders. They are a species responding to a threat against their future. There is no reasoning with them, no negotiating with them, no intimidating them. There is only surrender or destruction. Commander. Vorthak listened to the broadcast with growing dread. Everything Dr. Lee said matched what he was seeing with his own eyes. The humans had not come to fight a war. They had come to rescue their child, and nothing in the universe would stop them. Prepare to transfer the human prisoners, he ordered. Sir, all of them, now, before it is too late. But when his crew tried to access the holding cells where Hyunwoo's parents were kept, they found the doors sealed. The bioship itself was protecting the human prisoners. The ship will not allow access, Commander. It is treating the humans as crew members to be protected. Commander Vorthak turned to look at the communications screen where Captain Choi waited patiently. Her calm demeanor was more frightening than screaming rage would have been. Captain Choi, he said formally, I wish to negotiate the return of your people. There is nothing to negotiate, she replied. Transfer them to us immediately. What guarantee do we have that you will not attack us afterward? Captain Choi's smile was cold and sharp. The same guarantee we had that you would not steal our children. The implication was clear. The Veltrax had started this confrontation by taking what belonged to humanity. They were in no position to demand guarantees. However, Captain Choi continued, I will make you one promise. Return our people unharmed, and we will leave your space peacefully. But understand this clearly. If any human is ever taken by the Veltrax Empire again, we will not negotiate next time. You would declare war on the entire empire? No, Captain Choi said quietly. We would simply come and take our people back, and we would keep taking them back until you learn to leave us alone. The threat was more terrifying than any declaration of war. Wars could be fought and won, but an enemy that could appear anywhere, strike at will, and disappear back into space was impossible to defeat. Finally, Commander Vorthak made his decision. Prepare transport chambers for the human prisoners. All of them. 20 minutes later, Hyunwoo Kim walked through the transport portal onto Captain Choi's ship. Behind him came his parents and the other human prisoners. The boy looked around, at the rescue crew with bright, curious eyes. Thank you for coming to get me, he said simply. Captain Choi knelt down to his level. Are you hurt? No. They were scared of me at the end. I think they knew you were coming. Dae-hyun and So-young rushed to embrace their son. Tears streamed down their faces as they held him tight. We were so worried, So-young whispered. I knew you would come, Hyunwoo said confidently. And I knew everyone else would come too. He was right. Around them, the Iron Wind's crew consisted of volunteers from a dozen different ships. Engineer Taemin was there, along with navigator Woo Jin, analyst Sang Woo, and dozens of others who had abandoned their normal lives to rescue one human child. Captain Choi opened a communication channel to the entire human fleet. We have our people. All ships, begin withdrawal. The response was immediate. Hundreds of human vessels began moving away from the Veltrax bioship. but they did not leave quietly. As each ship departed, it transmitted the same message to Veltrax communication networks. The message was simple, but it would be remembered throughout the galaxy for centuries to come. Harm any human child and we will find you. Commander Vorthak watched the human fleet disappear into space with mixed feelings of relief and terror. Relief that they had not destroyed his ship. Terror at what they had proven themselves capable of doing. "Sir," Subcommander Gorthek said quietly, "what do we report to High Command?" Commander Vorthak stared at the empty space where thousands of human ships had been moments before. "We report that humanity is not a prey species, sir. Send a message to all Veltrax forces. Humans are to be avoided. Their vessels are not to be attacked. Their colonies are not to be threatened. And their young are never under any circumstances to be touched. Should we not report this as a military defeat?" Commander Vorthak considered. This. His forces had not been destroyed. His ship was undamaged. Technically, no battle had been fought. "No," he said finally. "Report it as a lesson learned." But the lesson was spreading far beyond the Veltrax Empire. News of the confrontation reached every species in the galaxy within days. The story of how thousands of humans had converged to rescue one child became legend. On Earth, news reporter Yang Su was trying to understand the economic impact of the rescue mission. Preliminary reports suggest that over 50,000 humans abandoned their jobs, contracts, and responsibilities to participate in the rescue effort. The economic disruption across human space is estimated in the billions of credits. His producer, In Young, shook her head. "You still don't understand, do you?" "What do you mean?" "This was never about economics. This was about showing the galaxy who we really are." 3 weeks later, at the Galactic Council, President Zorkon was addressing the Assembly about human incident. "The situation has been resolved peacefully," he announced. "However, this event has significant implications for galactic security." The Alteran representative raised a question. "Should we be concerned about human expansion? They have demonstrated surprising military capabilities." "No," President Zorkon replied. "We should be concerned about threatening their children." The Rigelian delegate, who had predicted the human response from the beginning, provided the final analysis. "What we witnessed was not military action. It was something far more dangerous, the protective instinct of an entire species. The humans did not mobilize their government or their military. They mobilized themselves. Is such a response normal for their species? We believe it.